Hey guys, in today's video, I wanted to go over the capping of stats in Wizard 101 that was implemented maybe a few weeks, if not a few months ago, as well as discuss wards on pets and outgoing, which is mostly a problem for life wizards, I would say. So let's get right into it, guys. First of all, let's discuss outgoing, because I tuned into this awesome stream last night. A lot of lifes doing BS at high level, right? So we're gonna see the outgoing stat. I'm a legendary death right now, okay? I don't use outgoing because obviously I'm a death, so I just drain to get health back, right? But essentially, the problem is that there's pins at high levels as well as basically themes and rings that give outgoing, and a lot of bundle gear, for example, could give outgoing on robes as well. And this basically makes lifes have the potential to play very annoyingly, as well as, for example, Exalted Balance, Exalted Storm. Okay? So, a big problem for life wizards is, for example, the spell Goat Monk, the spell Caterpillar, they can regenerate, Wings of Fate, so on and so forth. Even Satyr, for example. Maybe even Availing Hands if you're jading on a balance, possibly, assuming the opponent doesn't have a good way to, like, contagion or steal the heal. If you get it off right, or if you heal when your opponent has only one pip, one power pip, it's actually quite abusable, right? And it's hard in a meta with the Rochambeaus being very strong. I think more than ever, Wiz is like a trade based um, like damage game, like PvP game. And what I mean by that is basically, guys, is you'll lose a game if you f up. Like basically, what I mean by that is you have to keep up with your opponent. It used to be the case that it was more so at max PvP, in my opinion, that was the case because the devs basically balance PvP uh, based off max PvP because it's by far the most popular. Although they're kind of like creating their own problem by only focusing on max PvP, obviously, right? So essentially, at max, it used to really be the case. Like if, for example, something a matchup, if you guys remember when like Stefan Fire was like top of the top, like you'd have like Fire v Fire, and like if there was no wards or BS involved, like Stefan was crushing like mother effing other fires because like literally it's just like he would just like he's literally just better than you. Like it's literally a skill issue on your part because if he sent like a s'mores or he sent like an Ifrit, like he sent it at the right time, he built pips. um I try to apply the same logic on my legend death or on all my characters technically. um you want to basically use as many, this has always been the case in PvP, use as many zero pip spells as possible with high value. Like set shields are very strong, tri shield situationally pretty good. Tower shield when it was 55% used to have high value, weakness 30% that's pretty high value, auraing at the right time is pretty high value, stun blocking that's pretty high value if it's against the right school and early in the game, so on and so forth. Okay. So basically, my point for all this was that outgoing is quite abusable, especially at max, especially on a life, but at lower level bands as well, especially for life school again. For example, with Goat Monk, which I guess I might as well go on my life wizard. I believe I have tier 4 Goat Monk for the protected overtime, and you'll see that the value per pip is insane if you want to basically add up Goat Monk. Let's see it, guys. Gotemonke. So this is, let's say this is 500, 500. This is an 1,000 value spell for 5 pips, which is way better than any treasure card Storm School has ever had if your opponent doesn't have an answer to the heal. And this is a protected heal, so Gearhead Destroyer doesn't even work. So this spell is quite literally goated, okay? Now I don't want to spend too long on outgoing, there's other things I could bring up. At Grandmaster, for example, people use themes and rings with very high outgoing, very toxic. especially because a viewer, Kling, pointed out that, or C Lang, his name is probably something Lang, um, pointed out that basically since there's no auraing in general at Grandmaster, like the value of Goat Monk is like even stronger because you can't fortify against it, and there's like no infalling going on. So basically, what happens when there's no auras is like it's all raw hits. So if you use Goat Monk early in the game and it's a trade like blow for blow based game, you know, then Goat Monk is absolutely ridiculous, and life is probably actually very good. If you're a decent player, life is probably very good at Grandmaster right now. So yeah, that was basically. Let's just go on Arthur Willow for fun, guys. We might spawn in a busy ass arena, but um, basically, now let's move on to damage and resist cap and what that's done to the game. Personally, because I have the most experience, I'm gonna focus on. I wonder if that's HK. Personally, I'm gonna focus on legendary as an example only, because that is what I'm most familiar with, and I'm not talking out of my butt when I talk about legendary, because again, I've literally queued the most out of anyone, any player, this season, and maybe even last season if you exclude Joseph Ghost and possibly Rashad. Anyway, because I have like 4 legendaries, plus I have other characters on other accounts, so blah 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 blah. Anyway, guys, so what they did is, let's take example for legendary. The soft damage cap for legend. I'm not gardening, so if I have my PvP, I don't even have my PvP set. Whatever. Basically, the damage cap is 87. That's the soft resist cap, and the hard damage cap is 92. What that means, guys, is that up to 87 damage, your damage stat will carry over perfectly in terms of if you have 87 damage, your hit will be boosted by 87%. Right? Makes sense? It'll be like basically like your hit, I believe, unless I'm like dumb, I believe, yeah, your hit will do 87% more damage, right? That's like basic multiplication. I don't think I have the Whisk of Doom on this character right now. So let's just equip the Death Metal Skull for now. Anyway, so basically where I'm going with this, guys, is so yeah, that's the 87 is a soft damage cap. Now you have 92, which is the hard damage cap, right? So what happens at the hard damage cap is after 92 damage, so if you have 93, 94, 95 damage, etc., your hit is no longer boosted by whatever the extra percentage is. Okay? So basically, like if I ran like an old setup, 96 damage, I have 4 damage, it's completely useless, you know? And I don't have the clockwork on this right now, I believe. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, right, so this is 4 damage, that's useless, which is why I started running Lorenzo. Green Spider, I don't know what that is, so we'll keep it. Anyway, this is 92, so this would be damage, cap damage, right? I would have resist from, oh no, this is Lorenzo, so I wouldn't even have, I don't even know if I have a Quillen or not. Duelist. Sky Iron. Yeah, whatever. My Whisk of Doom is on another character. But my point is basically, so, okay, so I covered it, but from 87 to 92, there's diminishing returns. I'm not exactly sure what the scale is, but it could be, for example, like a logarithmic scale, I believe is the one. That, or a root function, I'm not sure, but basically a root function, it looks something like this. Like if you guys see my mouse, a root function, I believe, from what I remember, looks something like this, like if you look at my mouse. So basically, it's called diminishing returns. So as you increase, let's say as you get from 87, 88, 89, 92 to 92, it'll curve, it won't increase as much, you know what I mean? Like you'll have, the percentage, let's go back. Wait, let me control. Why is that's not working? Okay. Basically from 87 to 92% damage, it won't be proportional. Like when you do have 88 damage, it might actually be 87. If you have like, let's say 90, it might actually do only like 88. It'd be like 88.5. which rounds down. I'm not sure how to do the approximation sign, but basically, the damage will basically round down to 80. Like, it's not exactly how it works, but let's say you have an 88.5 damage hit, and then you have like an 100 base damage hit, right? So basically, you'd have to do 1.885. That's really important. Times 100, right? So that'll give us what, 188.5 damage on your spell. Let's say you use the one hit, which will be rounded down to 188 damage, I believe. Okay. Because as far as I know, Wizard101 round. It's like Pokemon. It's rounds down. You know, like if you have 88, if your spell would do like 88.5% damage, it actually just does 85, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then for resist capping, let's move on to resist capping and warding to wrap up the video. Don't want to make this too long. We are at 11 minutes. Basically, resist capping, so a legendary, I don't know if there's a hard and soft cap, but I think the number is 35% is the resist cap. Okay? So 35% is the resist cap, guys. Let me close my, yeah. So 35% is the resist cap, which means that any resist above 35, let me Control G, go here again. Okay, so basically any resist above 35 is technically useless. Assuming that 35 is the hard cap, I'm not actually sure, but let's say it is, okay, for the sake of argument. So 35, let's say, is the hard cap. Let me move this, guys, and maybe can I increase the transparency? Or like, you know what I mean? Okay, that's already the darkest, but anyway. So let's say 35 is the hard cap, right, guys? So then if you have 36, 37, 38, even like 79, let's say resist, doesn't matter, okay? However, pierce applies before resist capping. So what that means is if I have 50 resist, okay, and my opponent has 15 pierce, okay, and he hits me, let's exclude other factors, then my resist is brought down to 35 before damage of the spell is applied, which means that actually I didn't lose any. The capping won't decrease my excess resist. Let's call it that. Resist at all. Okay? Capping won't decrease my excess resist at all. So basically the stats are still good. Because, for example, my death, a legendary, runs 22 pierce, 20 pierce, something like that. So if my death based my balance, and even if I have 50%, or let's say my balance right now is 46% resist to death, and my death has, let's say, 20 pierce, then actually my resist is 26% after piercing, which means capping won't take effect. What I mean by that is that it actually won't make a difference. So in my personal opinion, the resist cap isn't a terrible idea. At least at legendary right now, it kind of works specifically in terms of wards, because it makes wards less useful. Because if you hit open into open, right? Open hits, no auras, no shields, etc. Right? Basically, if I were to have 61 resist, let's say. Technically, let's make it right, because technically it'd be 17 if I had ward right now. If I were to have 17% more res to death from a death ward on my pet, okay? Let's do some quick math. That's what, 63 resist? That would be 63% resist to death, okay? So you have 63%, okay? Minus, let's take that 20 from earlier, which gives us 43% resist to death on my balance. So now the resist cap theoretically would lower that to 35% before applying damage, which means that in that scenario I would effectively have 8% useless resist. Okay. Now, auraing actually kind of helps fight the damage, because the damage cap, because for example, if I don't want to get too long, but if you hit into the fortify, then the fortify takes the pierce away, right? So let's say 15% from fortify. Okay. You have 15% from fortify, then 20% pierce. Well, let's just say for the sake of argument, I have 15% pierce to make it easier. So then that'll make 0% the aura is basically there's no resist left. And then you have, let's say we keep our death ward, we'll have 63 resist to death is still our resist, okay? However, it's going to be brought down to 35. So however, it's going to be brought down to 35%, which means we have 28%, if my math is correct, useless resist, which is good for game balance. MO. I think now my last point, guys, because I'm getting kind of long here, is that resist itself is obviously historically resist is the most important stat in the game, followed by HP, followed by damage. Then I don't really know, probably historically I would say followed by pip chance. And then maybe you have your healing stats depending on what the meta was like. But way back in the day, this was actually kind of useful for the incoming from waterworks. Got your accuracy, which has never been like, unless you're playing on like a storm, which the gear it gives you accuracy, so it never really mattered. Basically, accuracy has never been that huge a deal, aside from being BS, the same way like pip fails are BS. Or RNG, or like, it's not skill dependent, which is really stupid. And the same with crit blocks, BS, which is why I like legendary a lot. Actually, it's like pretty skill based in my opinion. And yeah, so that was my last point. Is kind of last point is about wards. So basically, I think that wards value of indiv pet talent is too high. If you're mighty, warded, defy proof, or even just no mighty, defy proof ward, that's 30% res to one school. If your opponent is not warded, especially at legendary or grandmaster, in my opinion, it's basically nearly impossible to win unless your opponent is I don't know, like maybe if someone like Olivia Dawnblood or Isabella Sky was running defy proof ward, school proof, and the away talent, honestly they would probably still lose to me. I would probably finish the match with full health, to be honest, but aside from that, it makes the matchup very hard. And as you saw in my opinion, especially because of the said shield spam, if you guys watched my previous video facing Brendan Legend, in my personal opinion, I completely dogged him, completely outplayed him. However, he won the PvP match because he was warded to me and I wasn't warded to him. Hope you have an amazing day, guys. That's all from me. See you soon. Take care. Sorry I haven't been posting as much. All my matches are bloody garbage, and I'm working a full-time job, so is what it is. Anyway, guys, take care. Love you. See you.